Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Startup Secrets for Entrepreneurs, and I am your host, Shelby Oleschlager. Our mission here is to help entrepreneurs make a difference and navigate the messy world of startup or relaunch. Join me today where we dig deep with our guests to give you the best concepts and strategies to fast track your business. Today, our special guest, which I'm sorry, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, Tarek Hossain is here with us. So just want to say thank you so much for joining. And to get started, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hi, Shelby. Thank you for having me. And you got my pronunciation quite right. So it's all good to go. So a little bit of a backstory, if we can go back. I graduated from the University of Toronto and I was working for a insurance company here in Toronto, Canada. And essentially in 2006, I started my staffing business. And at that time, obviously, I had no experience of running a business, nothing like that. I didn't have any employees. I just got started because, honestly, I was fed up at my job. I didn't like the direction that I was headed in. So this was the best alternative for me to get started. And over the years, I managed to grow the business. I grew it to 9 employees. And in 2013, I basically sold the business to another company. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I essentially, as an entrepreneur, you work 24/7. There's really no off switch. And I wanted a break. I wanted to basically take a break because I had been working straight for more than 7 years, and I basically wanted to do something a little different, perhaps. So once I sold the business, essentially, all this time I was working with employers trying to fill their positions, and it was a B2B kind of an environment because our clients used to pay us, right? We didn't make any money off employees. So essentially, what I started in 2013, the name of my company is HR Connections Canada, is that I wanted to work with employees, essentially, job seekers to be more specific, because I found that job seekers who wanted to go to the next level were not really prepared, not with their resumes, LinkedIn, or their interview coaching stuff, right? They needed coaching for successfully locking in those offers. And what I found was that because we were using the ATS, the applicant tracking system, to basically sort through resumes and the thousands of applications we were getting. And a lot of people were not ready for that because what it was, I still remember in 2010-ish, around that time, if you had a decent enough resume and you just put your work experiences on there, you were basically good to go. And a lot of these things were done manually at that time. But nowadays, specifically nowadays, even small to medium-sized businesses, they use some form of ATS to basically screen resumes. And I found that majority of job seekers were not up to date with that. Their resumes were not ready. So I saw an opportunity, and that's how I basically started in 2013.
That's awesome. I like that you just kind of noticed this gap, and I'm sure you learned a lot about your business with staffing that you could apply to now working with more of the actual employees, helping them, get their job because they're all looking for a job. They need to level up in some way. How was that transition of going from your job that you're working for someone into running your own business? How was that? And was there any sort of obstacles that you had to face?
Well, see, when I ran my staffing business, essentially, I had to manage the team. Mm-hmm. I had to basically manage client relationships. I was the de facto accountant. And of course, we had outside help for filing our taxes and doing all that kind of stuff. But still, day-to-day accounting, marketing, business development, client relations, and the management of the team, essentially the recruiters, these were all my responsibilities. So I had a lot on my plate, and back in those days, a lot of things were not as automated or as tech driven as it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So spent a lot of time doing a lot of admin and kind of back office kind of work in order to make sure that the business was running smoothly, right?
Mm-hmm.
These days, the transition is a little different because now as a coach and a consultant, I get to work one-on-one with job seekers, and my clients are all across Canada and some from US as well. So essentially now, yes, there is the business aspect of it. I still have to do the accounting and the basic other stuff, which I need to do. But at the end of the day, I feel that when you're not really managing a very large team, the responsibilities are somewhat different. The onus is on you. You have to be self-motivated in order to get things done.
Mm-hmm. So how is that for you as far as your business to be self-motivated and to get you to where you are right now?
Yeah. So the thing with entrepreneurs is that you have to be highly self-motivated in order to get anything done. I mean, what I would say is that if you're not excited waking up every morning and thinking about some of the things that you're going to be doing and the value you're going to be driving in terms of, your clients and the value offered to them. And if you're not excited about that, then perhaps entrepreneurship is not the right thing. Because see, when someone's working in a 9 to 5 or a job, let's just say, there are days you can sort of take off. You get paid for vacation. You can take sick days. You can do all those kind of stuff. But when you're self-employed or when you're running your own show, you don't have any of those options. You can take a sick day, but you gotta come back the next day and sort of work twice as much in order to get the things done, things which are pending. It helps to have a good team so that they can take some load off you. But at the end of the day, you still have to motivate them. You still have to organize their work so that they are getting things done. Right. So I think that if, just to go back to what I was saying, is that if you are not really waking up every morning excited to work on your business, to take it to the next level, then your business is going to suffer.
Right. This just kind of made me think of, like building your team and whatnot. Because I know a lot of people listening, they're on that process of trying to build their team. So what was that like for you, and how were you able to keep that mission alive to, like you said, keep them working and wanting to do their work while also you are trying to be the coach and the consultant?
Right. So one thing about team building, what I have found is that you really have to understand the capabilities of your own organization. And I think that more so than anything else, the culture fit is the most important thing. Especially in a small team environment, you don't want to bring in someone who's going to ruin that whole chemistry if you have built one up already. Or if you really want to set the tone, then you need to bring in the people who will sort of model that behavior or traits to the next person coming into the team. So it's really, really critical to select the right team member and not just fill a vacancy in your team because, someone's gone for the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks and things are piling up. But the thing is that I have always found that because I had a small organization, a small business, so I wanted to hire people who had sort of that trait in them that, that sort of underdog mentality that, backs against the wall, they're going to deliver for their team. Because larger companies can go out and get grads from the best programs, and they can hire them on. They have a more structured process in place. They can actually move them along the organization ladder and those kind of things. But here, I think job satisfaction is what I try to sell to my employees and my team. Because if you're not happy coming into work or just work in general, you're not going to perform. So I wanted to make sure that there was a culture fit between every team member. And that way, it made a more enjoyable work environment where people could come into work and they actually looked forward to coming into work. And if you are satisfied on those aspects, you will deliver. And that is what I've always counted on.
Yeah. And I can see how that would even relate to some of your clients that you're working with. If you're resonating that culture and what you stand for and, like your mission statement and whatnot that, your company believes in, it's going to be a lot easier to really project your messages. So with that being said, how has it been for you? Like you just said about getting your employees, but now let's take it another step for actually you getting your clients. How is that process for you?
Yeah. So this is the aspect which I think that you need to sort of figure out what works for you best. Because when you're in the coaching profession, a lot of coaches, I find that they try to oversell at times with their list of qualifications, things they have done in the past and all that. Yes, of course, that little background about coming from a staffing background and understanding what employers are looking for is key to what I'm doing. But at the same time, I try to sell what I can offer to the clients in terms of value, how I can actually add value, as opposed to trying to sell my background to them. This is how I think that I have tried to differentiate myself. It's not about me, it's about the client. So if I am not the right fit for the client, then, they will know that on their first consult with me. And, that's a no obligation thing. They can just walk away. They don't need to work with me. And I always tell them that let me see if I am the right fit in terms of what you're trying to achieve. And I won't be a lot of the times. So I think there are different aspects to marketing, and there's no end to it. But one thing I ask all employers to do, all entrepreneurs to do, is to understand what business they are in and how to actually acquire customers. I think this is very critical. If your customers are, let's say, on TikTok, maybe it's an unlikely scenario, but let's just say your customers are on TikTok. You need to be on TikTok too. You may not appreciate what the platform is to a certain extent, but the thing is that if your customers are there, those are the hungry spaces where you need to be. So what I found is that majority of my customers are actually on Facebook. A lot of people have, sort of navigated away from Facebook, right? But I still find that a lot of my customers, because of the career level or the age or whatever it may be, they're more on Facebook than on Insta or any of these other ones. So I had to realize that, and I had to gear my strategy towards that in terms of customer acquisition. So again, try to understand where your customers are and go after those kind of platforms.
For sure. So with people that maybe can relate to that, what did that marketing kind of look like, and how are you able to grab people from Facebook to getting them on this discovery call that you said?
So there's always, at least 5 to 7 different groups for anything you're trying to do on Facebook. And most of these, there is a lot of engagement. There are thousands of people on these groups. And again, as I said, that those are the hungry spaces. That's where they are at. And I find that if you post something on Facebook, you will get some type of reaction to it. You don't have to post on Marketplace. I don't think you can advertise services on Marketplace, if I'm not mistaken. You can do it in the groups. So the thing is that find the right groups. That's what I did. I found groups where job seekers were talking about finding their next opportunity, or they were talking about improving their resumes and things like that. And there are groups with highly engaged audience and thousands of them. So this is what I did. And I think one of the things which is also important on Facebook, especially say, for example, someone posts, hey, I need a resume edit. Can someone help? Or is there a professional resume writer? Can they help? Right. I find that less is more when you are replying to one of those comments. If you're going to write a whole paragraph about yourself, and I find that doesn't work. Less is more, very simply just say, yes, I'm able to help, and just link your website or link your Facebook page or whatever. I mean, just make sure that they're clicking on your website to learn more about you. And that's when you can bring them on your website. Don't make your website very confusing. Keep it simple. One of the things which I struggled with initially was that I didn't have any testimonials. I didn't have any, not testimonials that you can buy off the net, but verified testimonials of actual clients. I didn't have any of those when I started, right? So that's one of the things I struggled with. So at that time, I did find that I was talking a little more about my background and how it relates to their present situation. Whereas now, after almost 8 years and thousands of clients and hundreds of, testimonials and things like that, I don't have to do that so much. My clients speak for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it even goes back to just what you said, like keeping it simple. You're kind of selling your value, not necessarily just selling yourself. So I think that's really important as well. So for now, like where you are and what you've gone through, what are your next goals? So like, let's say a year from now, where would you like to be?
A year from now, what I would want to be is, I find that majority of my clients are in the mid-level in their careers. They are usually 5 years into their professional career and going forward. So I think that the next year for myself would be working with more executive level clients, people who have reached the director or the C levels and things like that. And I find that presently, the way I market my services, or how my website is designed and things like that, it's not necessarily giving off that particular vibe, so to speak, right? And so I would like to improve upon that if I can. And one other thing which I want to do is that I actually want to expand my services to the US a lot more, because right now, majority of my clients are either in New York or Florida, because what has happened is that people I had worked with over the years have moved to the US and they have referred people who they know. So I don't actually run any ad campaigns or anything like that in the US. So because Canadian resumes or LinkedIn or interviews and things like that are exactly the same as in the US, perhaps a little different. But the thing is that I find that that's a very large market, and I would like to have a more structured approach towards finding clients in the US.
Yeah, that makes sense. Going back to just the first part of wanting to get more executive, what, if anyone else is kind of feeling the same way for your experience, has there been any sort of like surprising roadblocks or any obstacles that you faced to getting there?
Yes. So the way my service is designed right now is that we have a discovery call and we have another call, at the end if they wish for me to walk them through the resume or the completed documents, right? 95% of people do not go for the second call because, it's not necessary. So I find with executive level coaching, and I have spoken to a few peers in the US as well. And what it is that their whole thing is structured very differently, where they have not only a discovery call, but they have several other calls lined up, because the thing is that they want to get very in-depth information, if they can, from their clients. And I think that a lot of the clients really value that. So for example, a lady who's very successful actually in New York, she told me that she has a team of resume writers actually. So, and their charges are astronomical, what we charge here in Canada, specifically myself. So the thing is that with her is that her resume writers have to actually follow up 3 times every week in order to get a response after delivering their resume and cover letters, or LinkedIn. So for example, myself, if I deliver something, if I don't hear back from the client, I figure it's all good to go, because they get a round of revision within a week of submission. So if I don't hear back within a week, I figure it's all good. Some people I hear back after 3 or 4 years telling me, hey, I did end up landing the job. Can you update my resume now? Right? But over there, where it's more high ticket item, I would say, because their charges are, as I said previously, a lot higher than ours. So the thing is that they have to they engage with the client way more. They have to elicit a feedback in terms of whether this is good or this is not good. So, their structure is very different from ours. And obviously, when you're charging around $1,200 US for a resume and cover letter package, that I understand why they have their process structured the way they have.
Right. So I'm just curious, is that something that you've thought of kind of implementing as well, or you're going to stick with kind of what you have as far as like the pricing or like what's offered?
Yeah. So I think for the transition, when you try to transition from working with, say, mid-level clients to executive level clients, where you are actually charging them a lot higher, so your pricing is going to go up 2 times or 3 times more. I think what you also need to do at the back end is create what I have heard is called recognized authority, which is kind of becoming like a SME in your field. And the way you do that is through finding a niche. That would be one. The second would be that you publish stuff, whether it's on LinkedIn or other blog sites, or, become a guest on a podcast such as this one. Right. You do all these things to sort of build up an authority for yourself. And once you do that, you will find that high ticket item sales or just engaging with clients is so much easier. So I feel that those are some of the things which needs to be done at my end, because these are honestly things which I haven't done or taken the time to do. And I think that after 8 years and working with around 4,000 clients all across Canada, and as I said, some in the US, some in the UK and other parts of the world, I think I have built up enough expertise where I can actually share some of my knowledge. So I feel ready that I can do it. It's all a question about, setting the right plan, then sort of going about executing it.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so many of those things that I think a lot of us entrepreneurs face as far as the authority building. But like you said, you've been doing it for so long. And yeah, you definitely have these things that a lot of people would be able to get a lot of insight from. So just to wrap up this conversation, I'd like to know or just share with us where people can find you. And also, I always like to ask and get people to say like one last piece of advice or one thing that you want us listeners to be thinking about when we finish the interview.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I best place to find me is either on LinkedIn, just my name. You can also Google me and you will get a lot of links. My website is called hrcxtalentservices.com. It's a rather long name, but it's exactly how it's pronounced, hrcxtalentservices.com. So those are the best places to find me. One of the last pieces of advice, I would say is that I have seen recently, and I'm speaking again specifically about Canada and Toronto, is that we have a lot of people offering resume writing, because that is basically my field, like talent coaching, right? So a lot of people are offering resume writing, cover letters, LinkedIn upgrades. Some very few people are offering interview coaching. So what I would say to prospective clients is that in order to evaluate what a good resume writing service is, have a conversation with the person who's going to be doing it. And that's the way to judge. You can rely on Google reviews or other forms of reviews, but you have to understand who this person is, what their background is. And if they're doing multiple different things on their site, marketing, copywriting, et cetera, many different things, perhaps this person is not really an expert when it comes to doing your resume. That's one advice I would give to prospective clients. And to consultants and coaches, one thing I will say is that when you market yourself, try to, as you rightfully said, market the value which you can offer to your prospective clients and your customers. And at the end of the day, obviously you will do your own marketing research to find what is the correct price point and where you need to be. But one thing I find sadly is that a lot of coaches and consultants are not necessarily doing a good job with their customers, and they have no sort of policy in place where they can fix an issue. For example, if a client is not happy with their resume or whatever, be transparent, because when you're transparent with your coaching services, you will find that you're attracting a lot more clients, number one, and you're attracting the right type of clients. So make sure that you're transparent in terms of your pricing, in terms of what is actually included and what you're willing to do. So if it's a 15-minute discovery call, just don't say discovery call. Say it's a 15-minute discovery call. Set the right expectations and have it on your website, and make sure that everybody knows that what you're offering. So when you sort of structure your services this way, I will say that you will get a lot more traction.
Hey.
Hey.
Sorry about that. I don't know what
No worries.
happened. Okay. Do you know where you left off?
Yeah, I just said that clients will get more traction, but I don't know how much was recorded because it kept saying, I know you kind of froze, but it kept saying recording on the top left. So
Yeah. I think it's okay. Like it only shut off for a brief moment, so we should be okay.
yeah.
Mm. Cool. Do you have any final words?
No, not really. I think I have offered the final thoughts.
Yeah.
I hope that people have some takeaways from this.
Definitely. I'm sure they do. And this is such a very interesting, and like you said, the field is growing of other people that are doing this. So it's really valuable. And thank you so much for sharing some of your story. And hopefully, yeah, like others that are going through something similar will be able to get some insight from it. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.